eventually.
Well, what the line really means in the place where it is, in my mind anyway, and perhaps it's a mistake, is that religions and myths are born and flourish and die, and this will die along with all the others. What is the connection between this myth and some other possible myths? And from there, the poem moves to a discussion of Garibaldi and how come he wasn't chosen as this great hero, and what would it be like if he were?
But the idea also, now since you mentioned Garibaldi, you think Garibaldi is on the way of the dinosaur also?
No, but I don't think that in America people of Italian origin tend to know a great deal about Garibaldi anymore, or tend to celebrate him very much. 100 years ago, people took Garibaldi much more seriously here.
Yeah. Maybe if we have a couple of minutes, we could read a couple of sentences, maybe the first and the last stanza. We don't have much more time.
Okay, how much time do we have?
We have a couple of minutes.
Just
read
the
the first.
10 minutes? What does it mean?
No, not really. Just
okay. Okay, I'm going to read the beginning of the poem. I found Christopher Columbus hiding in the ashtray. What are you doing there, if you please? No one smokes, he said. Leave me alone. We used to wear a St. Christopher medal. It was for driving in the car. Then they said, there's no St. Christopher. Get rid of the medals. And we had to fly in airplanes without the protection of this non-existent saint. Plenty of people were scared of flying without said Christopher, and yet they fly. We will learn to get along without Columbus, whom we used to love so well. There's McDonald's in Columbus, but Cologne has gone to hell. There's an awful smell where he must dwell. We will live without Columbus, whom we used to love so well. The fact is, Columbus Day will go the way of the dinosaur along with everything else. Meanwhile, what about Garibaldi, who was fighting for the poor of Italy, but after the revolution lived to see the rich steal Italy and starve the poor, selling them to labor gangs in Suez, shipping them to New York to dig subways in return for cheap American grain they brought back in the empty ships. The Italians went to America in steerage. That means they slept down below, all in one room, seasick for weeks. Another room would carry wheat the other way. The Italians didn't know where they were going. When they got there, the people spit at them. And Garibaldi lived to see all this begin to happen, which was his reward for helping the rich steal Italy. He should have come to New York to fight in the Civil War. You know, they invited him to start a brigade, and march in the Columbus Day parade. The Americans loved Columbus in those days. He was the right kind of Italian, not like these dirty Dagos and Guineas and Wops stick you as soon as look at you. They carry shivs in their pants, the brown-eyed bastard Italians, the ice cream men, stilettos up their sleeves, handing your daughter the big vanilla. With the handlebar mustache Italians fixing the races at the track can get you girls. They run the numbers and killed Danny Shea, the Dago did, for a dirty look and 20 quid. The Americans preferred Columbus, our man with a telescope in his pants, who bought America from the Indians and gave it to the bankers. They named 60 or 70 cities and towns Columbus. Columbia, a university, a country. They called a World's Fair Columbian. Columbian meaning forward-looking, inventive, daring, not afraid of fools and bigots. In those days, they would sick Columbus on the priests. They would have a play in which the Inquisition said to Columbus, "The earth is flat, it says so right here in this book of theology. And Columbus would stand there all smug like Galileo, signifying the progress of science and the freedom of inquiry, while the priests competed to see which of them could say the dumbest thing. Nowadays, of course, this history of science includes a lot more chapters than it had 100 years ago. In those days, they never heard of Auschwitz. They never heard of Hiroshima. They never thought someone could kill Lake Erie or cause the disappearance of thousands of species, the most beautiful creatures in creation. So, of course, it's no longer so wonderful to be the patron saint of science. Italians are a family people, not as in some political speech, but as on the caves of desolate Matese, as on the frosty mountains of Gran Sasso. Family people since the days of Visigoths and Roman legionaries. Families protecting their own from the soldiers and the police, even their so-called criminals, even their real criminals, because who were the soldiers? They were worse than criminals. They were foreigners. They were foreign soldiers. No one was watching. They came where they came, and they took what they liked. People used to fight over Columbus. The Spaniards said he was Spanish. In 1940, Salvador de Madariaga published a beautiful book proving Colon was and had to have been Jewish. Became the quincentenary. Nobody wanted Columbus except the Italians. They sat in their kitchens and said, he was ours when he was rich and lovely, and he has to be ours tomorrow. Otherwise, what are we anyway when the foreign soldiers come back? I found Columbus hiding in the ashtray. So I brought him a little soup. I would sit next to him reading a book until he fell asleep. It was the house arrest that befalls even good people when they grow old and cannot do anything. He's useless now, but he's still yours. Now, that's the first part of the poem. And it goes from the sort of historical business about Columbus and how he's been reduced to the personal. And at the very end of the poem, there's a long rhapsodic passage, Alan called it a rhapsody, that tells the whole story of Columbus. And I don't think there's time to read all of it, but I will read the very end of it, which summarizes it and also summarizes the kind of position that I really wanted to take after thinking the whole thing through. Columbus, a tiger, a priest, and a flea all went to sea in a spoon to learn if the world might be something to see, even half so rotund as the moon. The tiger he died, and the fleas in their tribes laid claim to the forests and beasts. And Columbus was tried and convicted of bribes by a jury of Jacobin priests. Innocent victims of innocent crime abuse us wherever we dream, writing their signatures all across time and all that we wanted to seem. The last of his crew, Columbus now goes to whiten and fade on the beach, as guilty as I am, or you, or who knows. And that is the end of the speech.
Very well.